Andy, there was something that came up this week at the time of recording in Major League Baseball. Ron Manfred discussing the possibility of a golden rule at bat, which essentially the makeup of it would be you could pinch hit somebody once per game, even if it's not his spot in the batting order. I guess there'd have to be rules around it. Like the guy obviously couldn't be on base. I don't know if they would do it if only you're trailing versus winning, if you could do it in a certain inning. I don't know. I've been wrong on baseball before because I didn't think the current rule changes would work, and they have. You're a big baseball guy. This just sounds so gimmicky and so complicated to me.
Foolish. Baseball is the one sport that still has some sort of an old-timey feel to it, right? Football is a completely different game than 50 years ago. Basketball is a completely different game. Baseball, for as much as it has changed, it is still very much the same sport. It's a lot of, baseball, when you get down to brass tacks, it's a million individual performances tied into an entire season, right? When you're standing there in the batter's box, it's you versus the guy on the mound. You're the only one that can make an impact in that moment, other than, guys stealing bases. But being able to hand pick a baseball at bat is it's just a dagger in the integrity of the sport. I think it's so incredibly out of touch for him to even float that out there. You really, I mean, you're going to give essentially what it's going to come down to is a guy named Shohei Ohtani is going to get 162 extra at bats a year. A guy named Aaron Judge, a guy named Juan Soto, depending where he goes,
Yeah.
a guy named Jose Ramirez. It's going to absolutely decimate the record books unless you find a way to keep those gold net bats out of the record books. It's going to completely ruin everything.
Yeah, to me, it's like, what's the intention then of having a lineup?
Right. The whole concept of baseball is a manager sits down and crafts the perfect lineup to
Yeah.
face whatever pitcher is expected to be on the mound that day. I
And
mean,
and the games
Steven,
you play, specifically when teams go to the bullpen for the
yes,
lefty righty matchups.
yes. It's a Stephen Vogt probably used 162 different lineups across 162 games last year. And it's all calculated. He's not doing it picking names out of a hat, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason. There's a method to the madness. And there's no reason that baseball has gotten so much better in the last couple of years. I don't know if you think this, but I have had so much fun watching the sport recently. There are so many superstars. There are so many elite pitchers. There are so many pure athletes in the game now that you don't need to do something like that. What do you accomplish?
And the fact that I can't believe I'm saying it because I'm such a traditionalist, and I did not think that banning the shift was going to work. And
Oh, amazing.
I did not think the pitch clock was going to work. And I'm like, a pitch clock? You're going to put a shot clock in baseball? And it's amazing.
Do you could watch an entire baseball game and not even realize that there's a pitch clock running.
I mean, you think about it now. A baseball game is shorter, I feel like now, than your average NBA game with all these fouls in the last 2 minutes. I mean,
Yeah,
the last 30 seconds of the Cavs Celtics game took
17
17
minutes.
minutes. What they're
Ridiculous.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. The NBA's got to solve some of these issues. It's like college football overtime. We don't need nine overtimes to decide who's going to win a football game.
Now that was fun to watch though. You
It
have to
was
admit.
fun to watch. We'll get into that in a little bit. Um, you mentioned Stephen Vogt. I know you got a lot of thoughts on the Guardians. You're a big baseball guy. I know we're out of season now, but I wanted to give you a shot since we have you on the show to talk about it because, quite frankly, I'll just be honest, it ripped my heart out. We should have been to the World Series, man. At least.
It All right, my very quick overview. The Guardians were supposed to be 500 and they made it to the ALCS. An incredible season put together solely by Stephen Vogt. As a rookie manager, he crafted a beautiful team. He crafted beautiful lineups. He brought out the best in virtually every player that put on the blue and red for us this season. He did an amazing, amazing job as a first year head coach, and I am beyond excited to see what he does, hopefully for the next 10 years. Because I mean, I was thrilled. I had so much fun watching regular season baseball, watching Cleveland Guardians baseball. The city had so much fun supporting that team. And it was just such a high level of game that I mean, as a first year head coach, man, a rookie, a guy who was swinging the stick 3 years ago, right? He was playing ball,
Yeah.
and I am so thrilled that the Guardians absolutely hit it on the head with him. They picked the guy that's going to lead this team to another World Series. I am fully confident in that. You have an incredible young team. We know, again, the Cleveland Guardians are one of the youngest teams in the MLB
Yeah.
and one of the cheapest. I mean, the only guy you're paying is Jose Ramirez. Um, and you go out and somehow secure the number one overall pick and pick this guy from Australia, Travis Bazzana, who is going to be a lights out middle infielder for the Guardians in hopefully no more than 2 years' time. You have a guy in Kyle Manzardo who I think will turn into a career 260, 270 hitter. He's going to hit 55 doubles and 40 home runs a year. He's going to be great. You have a guy in Chase DeLauder who we still have really yet to see in the bigs. We saw him in spring training, but I'm excited to see what he does. And I mean, this team is the front office. Chris Antonetti has done an incredible job at finding talent where nobody thought talent would be. He came out and he went and got Lane Thomas, who did not have a great second half of the season for us, but in the playoffs, he's the reason why we won a number of games.
Yes.
Lane Thomas, no
Lane Thomas and David Fry. No question about
who
it.
would have thought that those two guys would contribute more in the playoffs than Jose Ramirez and Josh Naylor?
Yeah.
And you know what? It just sucks that Jose and Josh went cold. I mean, Jose was cold for the first whole series, and then he started to heat up a little bit against the Yankees. But I think what it came down to in that Yankees series was Stephen Vogt did get outmanaged. I think he panicked at times. He took guys out and put guys in when he didn't need to make changes. He got bailed out a couple of times by Big Christmas. That I mean, dude, I don't know what your reaction was, but when John Kenzie Noel hit that go ahead or game tying home run deep to left,
Man,
almost touched the
chills.
that
Chills. I
that
I thought it was meant to be. I thought we were getting right back in the series. And obviously,
and we were.
guys make a couple errors. I mean, I thought the Guardians should have been at least up 3-2 going back to New York and see what
Yep.
happens.
Yeah, I think Brian Rocchio's performance in the playoffs earned him a spot next year in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
But obviously his defense cost us dearly, dearly in those playoffs. But we'll see, man. I think the biggest thing this team needs going into 2025 is I think they need to figure out the catcher situation. I mean, we know the MLB catcher situation is the worst it's been in history.
Yeah.
There's only a few guys that really stick out, and Adley Rutschman, Salvi, Contreras, a couple of other guys, but you got to find someone who can hit 240 for you. We got to find a starting pitcher to pair with Bibby and Bieber, assuming Bieber's coming back. But
Yeah,
I mean,
losing Boyd kind of hurt. I was surprised by that.
losing Boyd, but not for the price tag of 14 million.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about that. I mean, this Roki Sasaki. Have you heard of him? Has Billy
No.
talked to you?
No.
So if you remember back to the World Baseball Classic, obviously Team Japan won the last one.
Yeah.
Roki Sasaki was the guy on that team that really pushed them through. If I remember correctly, I looked up his stats last year and it was something crazy like 87 innings, 182 strikeouts in the Japanese Baseball League. I mean, his strikeout to walk ratio was something I'd never seen in my life, and his fastball sits at 100 miles an hour. This kid is coming over. It's his first year of eligibility. He's 23 years old, and it's going to be an all-out dogfight to see who gets to sign him. And I don't know how familiar you are with the rules around arbitration and signing Japanese players, but there's a certain money pool that you have to pull from in order to sign a
Okay.
Japanese player. So it's not like the Dodgers can come out and offer him 30 million a
Yeah.
year, right? It has to be within X. So it makes it a fair playing field. I'm hoping the Guardians try, because he would be an absolutely electric guy to have on the mound.
And I'll tell you what, if they do, we all know Cleveland and now Carl Willis eventually back as our pitching coach. We all know Cleveland is pitching factory.
Cleveland is the best team to go to as an up and coming pitcher who has potential but hasn't unlocked it yet. Something about that Guardians developmental pitching program has created some of the best pitchers to see playing time in the MLB in the last couple of years. But yes,
Yeah. So real quick, let me ask you this: thoughts on Shohei Ohtani, Los Angeles Dodgers? They were down 2-1 to the Padres, who were their arch nemesis. Shut them out in the last two games. And basically that Met series was so weird because there was never a close game in that series. It
no.
was always blowouts. And then the incredible comeback, obviously, Game 5 against the Yankees. Dodgers, in my mind, winning their first legitimate World Series since the 80s, considering that 2020 season was 60 games and no travel. So this time for me, for the Dodgers, they finally got over the hump.
I was happy the Dodgers won. I was happy Shohei got a ring. I was happy to see Freddie Freeman embracing his dad after that World Series win. Um, we talked about this last time on the show. You half, maybe 75% came around to Shohei Ohtani being the best player in the MLB.
Oh no, I came around. I
You're
said he was
fully
the best
there?
player. Yes.
Okay. And I think that still stands even after the World Series. I mean, he didn't have the greatest postseason, if I remember. But he's MLB is weird, right? Because you can pitch normally to eight guys in the lineup and just give that ninth guy hell if you want. And that's what pitchers have to do every time they face Shohei Ohtani. And having a guy like that in your lineup allows everybody around him to be better than they normally are, because pitchers have to be so locked in and they can't take risks when they face a guy like Judge, like Ohtani, like
Yeah.
Ramirez, these guys who are just so electric with a bat in their hand. Um, but I'm happy for him, man. I was happy to see him win. I'm fairly confident that he's probably going to win another one or two or three in his career. He's the most electric ball player we've seen, and according to what we see online, he's one of the most humble guys in the MLB. And seems just like a great person and a great guy to want to support.
Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.